Hello. No, dun, dun, boom. Hey, did you hear it's the 5th of January? It's the 5th of January. It's January 6th Eve. Are you celebrating privately tomorrow for January 6th? I'm not. I'm going to have a big party on the air. Might even pack a hookah. Oh, the darkest day. It's the darkest day in our history. Are you not acknowledging it? How unpatriotic of you. Anyway, tonight is going to be a great one. It's Thursday, so we're moving right along. And we have a really interesting guest, a guy I have been waiting to talk to for a while. He's actually friends with my brother already, these musician-producer types. They all know each other somehow. But I've been waiting for a date to have Toby Wright on the show for months now, and we finally got it all worked out, and I think he was going to be on with us back in October or something like that, but here we are, we're doing it in January, and it's always the perfect timing when it finally happens. And he's got a tremendous career. We'll go through that a little bit, but it's more so what he's doing now in more recent years with the time that he has put into developing sound frequency modulation technology to help people achieve certain levels of, I don't know, what should we say, spiritual fine-tuning, physical healing. We've talked about healing frequencies and the human body. We've talked about, what we talk, the intention experiments of the past, whether we are on Dr. Emoto's messages in the water or anything like this, somatics. This has all been a part of the show, and we might even go to an old but always relevant blog post that we published on the blog on quitefrankly.tv in the second half after we're off the air with Toby Wright. But there's so many cool things that we'll be able to get out of the way this evening, and in fact, including a couple of personal questions I have about some of the artists he's worked with. I know he's worked with Metallica, especially on that fabled And Justice for All album, which has, obviously, it's one of the greatest metal albums of all time, but it would definitely be the greatest if it weren't for some problems with the production, which has become a meme for Metallica fans. So I want to talk to Toby about that, because I think that's interesting. That'll be a really great behind-the-scenes kind of a poking kind of a thing, prodding. I'm not that big of a prodder. I just ask. And whatever I get back, I get back. So I want to thank my sponsor tonight, BlueMonsterPrep.com. They are putting together more packages for this audience than ever before. I'm going to be getting some more information on that from them soon. But giving away a ton of things for people who go and shop on the site with the Quite Frankly promo code Frankly. That's on top of getting all of your shipping taken off the top. In the bottom, I guess. Free mugs, thermal blankets, fire starters, all that stuff. But you need to go and take a look at BlueMonsterPrep.com and do a little shopping. At least do a little prioritizing. In February, I'm going to get myself this. In March, I'm going to get myself this. At the end of the year, after cobbling together a little bit of everything, all of a sudden you realize, wow, if the lights went out and the heat is off, I have enough here to make sure that I'm at least going to survive for a month. And then maybe a year after that, God forbid, or God willing, nothing else happens where you have to dip into that. You could do the same thing over again. Then finally you have 5 months worth of stuff. Who knows? Little bits at a time. You need to. It's insurance that you can actually hold on to. That you can eat. Insurance you can eat and drink. All right. Tomorrow night, I'm keeping my calendar clear so we can do some other stuff. I don't know if Matt is going to be by, but either way, it'll be a nice Friday evening, as it usually is. And then next week, tons of great things, including the return of book club next Wednesday night. I can't wait. And on Tuesday night, I'm going. What night is Tuesday? Tuesday's the 10th. So Tuesday night, I'll probably be ending the show about 20 minutes earlier as well, because the band is getting together and we're plotting out some music work of our own for the year 2023 at whatever reasonable slow pace it may be, just giving ourselves some goals, some workout goals, something that'll keep us feeling like musicians. That's all that really matters. So it'll be good to get together with them Tuesday night. I'll tell you how that all goes, because part of what we're going to be plotting out is live streaming nights over here where we go live on the network and other sites, and you guys we'll just jam, or we'll find a way to get the audience involved at home and have good stuff with like that. All right. We also have something from the Damar Hamlin situation with the Buffalo Bills. Apparently he has regained consciousness. The reports coming out are that he is neurologically intact, so no brain damage. Alert and asking questions, although he seems to be communicating by writing the questions down for now. And what I have also seen is that they said that there's no reason why he wouldn't be able to play football again one day. I don't know about that one if I were he. I think I'd just be good at that point. He'll have no shorter than a mile-long list of financial suitors after this. And of course, the first question I would write down after I woke up was, why? Can we get to the bottom of why? So I'm so happy that he's awake. It's good to get a win somewhere. And there you have it. Now, as far as winning goes, it's not happening for Kevin McCarthy. Good, you bitch. Kevin McCarthy. He just lost the 10th straight vote round, the vote count. I don't care. After 10th failed vote for Speaker, Punchbowl News' Jake Sherman reports that a deal between McCarthy and his opponents may be close. That is the worst news I can hear about this. Worst news I can hear. Worst news. I saw a headline somewhere today. It said, "Is this the end of MAGA?" Because Donald Trump is foolishly putting all of his endorsements behind this guy. And it's like, no, it's not. Trump's on the wrong side of MAGA with this one. 100%. What the hell about this poser, Kevin McCarthy? This poser swamp rat. What about him is MAGA? What about him is MAGA? We're going to go from a $1.7 trillion voting spending package, whatever, to 1.4, and that's going to be conservative. To hell with this. To hell with it all. I don't care. I don't care at all. And then you get this craziness out of people like, well, I don't know if it's craziness. He might just be trying to stir the pot for some conversation on his brand new social media platform. But Elon Musk goes and says this: Kevin McCarthy should be Speaker. Subtle, but I am beginning to suspect opinions differ on this matter. If not McCarthy, then seriously, who? As if that's the real question, which it is not. You see, this is when I don't know if Elon Musk is just playing dumb, or if this issue, like other issues, has suddenly moved into another one of his blind spots. I don't know. We all have blind spots. We all have lanes that we usually don't drive in, and sometimes it's a bit confusing. If not Kevin McCarthy, then seriously who? Well, there are 435 members of the House, and then there are over 300 million Americans. Obviously, you have to be a certain age, so maybe not 300 million, but you get what I'm talking about here. You get what I'm talking about. I can pick at least 25 people from my personal life who are better suited and, by rule, eligible to be Speaker of the House, because as everybody should know out there, the Speaker of the House does not actually have to be a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I also usually say when situations like this comes up that as long as he has breath in his lungs, I nominate Ron Paul. So, but this is really not about seriously who, because there's so many people that you can pick out of a hat who would understand and be able to very clearly go through the motions as speaker, and to also have the Constitution and its very basic set of rules and very basic and limited enumerated powers in mind. It's a very simple thing, okay? You can go to anybody. It is not a matter of who. It's a ridiculous question to ask who else but Kevin McCarthy. It's a matter of how, once again, we are being reminded in a very serious way that all things, especially on that level of government, are preordained, and those things, Kevin McCarthy in this situation, never serve us. Never do anything to serve us or our basic interests. And our basic interest should be to be able to live a life as unencumbered by government as possible. Especially government that is run hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, where they do not know you, your family, your local community, and what's best for you. That's why it should all be localized. And we were designed to be localized. This is all a lie. It's all a lie. And the only thing I'm really upset about is that, I heard that staffers, I heard that by House rules, which are set to each new Congress, now they are frozen. Staff won't get paid. That's fantastic to hear. But members-elect will still get paid. So anybody who just won an election but has not been sworn in yet, they'll still get paid. That's sad. I don't think any of them deserve anything. So I don't think they deserve anything. And if you needed something else to throw back at Elon Musk as to why this is a bigger question as to who could possibly be better than the poser Kevin McCarthy, and say, oh, he's negotiating. He's trying to. We're trying to see what we can get out of him. I mean, what more do you want from him? What more do you want from him? He already. You remember what he promised weeks ago? He already promised weeks ago that he would read the Constitution. He would read the Constitution out loud to an empty room in Washington, D.C. What? You wanted more than that? He was going to read the Constitution out loud. Wow, this poser. So just to be able to show you that it's not about who is better than him, here's Fox News, or Fox and Friends, calling the 20 people who have some kind of integrity in the House of Representatives and don't actually want to do the same thing all over again, maybe give it a shot, at least for some good television. You know, with somebody other than Kevin McCarthy, obviously things aren't going to change, or not drastically, but maybe we'll get some better television that we've had the last couple of years. Here they are calling the 20 holdouts insurrectionists.
Discuss ways to get around this and try to come together today at noon.
Right, but here's the thing. If you pick, Jim, just how insincere the insurrectionists are, probably shouldn't use that word, the people that don't want to vote for Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah. You shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't use that word, you idiot. Then there's Fox and Friends, no friend of mine. And then you have, whatchamacallit, where is he? Do I have him in here? I don't have the clip of the neocon pirate from Texas, Dan Crenshaw, calling this terrorism. He said he likened this. This is terrorism. So insurrectionist terrorism being lobbed at 20 people who don't want this neocon rat, who's just it's just tale as old as time. So it's not really about who's better. And I'm glad that this has been dragged out for as long as it has. And if we're lucky, it'll be August soon, and there still won't be a speaker. That's when we'll really know that we've been lucky this year. I hope it goes on, but I don't know if we have that good of luck. One thing I will say is this, though. I thought for sure that in April/May, around Easter time 2023, we were going to get the sequel to Passion of the Christ. I was positive we were going to get the resurrection this year. Where did I go wrong? I just saw this headline that was published on worldofreal.com yesterday. Here's the headline. Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ Resurrection shooting. They're going to start shooting in mid-2023. Where have I been getting this Easter 2023 release date from? Because we've talked about it many times. It was one of the things I've been excited for, to see what Mel was going to do. It's been a long time coming. This is written by Jordan Rumi. Long time coming, but I'm hearing Mel Gibson will finally be shooting The Passion of the Christ Resurrection in a few months. A late spring production is currently being eyed, with Jim Caviezel set to return in the role of Jesus. The sequel to Mel Gibson's 2004 mega hit, The Passion of the Christ, has been ruminating in development for around 10 years now. I did not know that. The original made $612 million on a scant $30 million budget, making it one of the most successful independent films of all time. Gibson has been hard at work on the screenplay with Braveheart screenwriter Randall Wallace. There have already been 6 drafts. Resurrection would focus on the 24 hours encompassing Jesus' passion and the events that occurred 3 days between his crucifixion and resurrection. That is what I am so... Now, I wonder if it's going to be almost like a... I hope that it's one of these revolving things, because I would love to see the imagery that Mel comes up with. One of these alternating things where you're going to, obviously, all the apostles and, hiding out. They know that that this is big. Their leader, their beloved leader, is gone now. And they must be scared to death. They must be in hiding. They, secret knocks on the door. I would love to see a revolving, rotating kind of a storyline between them and whatever kind of battles in the netherworld Jesus is going through in the 3 days prior to I almost said it. The insurrection, the erection, the resurrection. Too many actions around me these days. I would be so curious to see what kind of imagery Mel would come up with for the underworld scenes or the purgatory or whatever the hell it is. Hell, I would love to see that because I know he can do it. That would probably be haunting and awesome. Oh, if it goes there, it'd be so nuts. That would be so nuts. That would leave a mark. That would definitely leave a mark. But I'm so pissed off. I thought that this was going to be coming out this year. I thought we were going to get it this year. Now they're about ready to start shooting. Man, all right. Well, I wanted to put that on the record. Oh, another news, according to the Daily Mail, Vladimir Putin is terminally ill with cancer again, and his death is coming very fast, says a Ukrainian spy chief. So he'll be dead again in the next couple of months. Of course, I don't know what that means, if they're preparing the heart attack gun or something. I'm sure he's safe, but we'll see. We'll see. We've been getting this every month at a certain time for the last almost a year now. The invasion is almost a year old, or the special military operation is almost a year old. And here's a guy who's going to have some problems for a little while. A husband, a Thai couple, had a unique Christmas experience that had made headlines around the world. A husband stops for a bathroom break on a trip and then forgets his wife and drives off 100 miles without her. On December 25th, Boontam Chaimun, 55, and his 49-year-old wife began driving through the night to her hometown and province of Mahasarakam so they could ring in the new year with her family, the UK's Daily Mail reported. During the long drive, Boontam Chaimun stopped by the side of the road to take a quick bathroom break. Unbeknownst to him, his wife also hopped out of the car to relieve herself in the nearby woods. When she returned to the road, the car was gone, and she realized that she was stranded in the middle of nowhere because she had left her bag in the car. The wife had no phone, no money on her, so she began walking, hoping to find help. After she hiked 13 miles, the wife eventually came upon a police station in Cabin Buri around 5 a.m. So she pleaded with help, and apparently her husband thought that she was still sleeping in the back. And it took him 100 miles to check back there to see if she's even moving around or whatever. So, I mean, they eventually got together again, obviously. But, boy, he's... Doghouse? Is there a doghouse small enough? Oh, if I did that to Lauren, That wouldn't be good. Thankfully, she sleeps up front in the passenger seat, so there's no missing her. All right, with that all done, it's time to kick off the show, and I can't wait to bring on our guest of the evening, Toby Wright. I have to do a little bit of a table setting before we get into this, so don't go anywhere. In fact, share the show far and wide. Please, if you are watching, there's 7 places to watch the show right now. We're soon to be making it 10 or 11. But if you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble, then it takes nothing to click the like button, and please do so. If we have 1,000 people watching on one place or another, there should be at least 800 likes there. It takes nothing, it costs nothing, and it helps the show in amazing ways. It wakes up the channel, it gets people who are already subscribed knowing what we're doing, and it actually suggests the show in some small way on YouTube, but in a huge way on Rumble. It suggests the show to people who don't even know who we are yet. So help us get it out. Help us make 2023 huge. Like the show, like, and share it out there. We'll be right back.
You tune in at your own enjoyment, because it is the best show since the beginning of time. It has technological advancements and a more sophisticated approach. But like every great awakening that has preceded it, it has one iron rule. Logic is a friend and truth is essential. You are now entering, quite frankly. Now take off your pants. And jacket.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's roll.
No. And as I say every night, if you want to contribute to the show, if you want to get some thoughts onto the record, but you just don't want to wait online for a call, then you can always send us a super chat. There's Rumble Rants, there's Gold Pills on Foxhole, which is on QuiteFrankly.tv. There's Rockfin Tips, and there is QuiteFranklySuperChat.com. It's a universal program, a universal website for everybody, no matter where they watch, and we'll be able to get your super chats in. So, on a night-to-night basis, most nights I should say, we are always talking about the human condition in some way. It's just a little bit too, I don't know, banal to just do the news and just stick around there. It doesn't do it for me. I usually use the news in some kind of a way as a launching point, a launch pad for other conversations that go a little bit deeper, slightly off topic, or a launch pad for some jokes that I really like to crack on certain people or whatever. That's just really what it is. It's about the human condition for the most part. And we are usually talking about the mental, the physical, and the spiritual, and then the behavioral cycles that we can actually track throughout history. And that comes, with that comes understanding how we as a species tick. We know some stuff, a lot of stuff has been hidden from us, other things have become obscured, and tonight we are going to be jumping back into the topic of frequency and sound and music. And if music can soothe even the savage beast, then our guest this evening can tell us a little bit about that in a big way. Toby Wright is an award-winning music producer who has not only worked with some of the biggest musical acts on the planet since the early 1980s, but in more recent years, he has invested much of his time into unlocking healing and restorative powers of the human body through sound frequency modulation. And I can't wait to talk about all that stuff. We have plenty to discuss, and I hope that we can get much of it in the time that we have allotted to us. But I have some of his bio over here that I'd love to read from his website, TobyWrightMusic.com, which I have linked in the description of this episode. While attending NYU in 1979 for his Bachelor of Science in Psychology in Audio and Electronics, Wright landed his first industry gig at the world-renowned Electric Lady Studios as a runner at a whopping $5 per day. The real payoff was, of course, his opportunity to yet again soak in his surroundings, which just happened to give him access to such illustrious engineers as Neil Kernan, Hugh Pagdam, Michael Frondelli, as well as meeting Sal Greco, whose maintenance team Wright would eventually join. Wright thought, if I know how to fix something when it breaks, then I surely will be able to operate it when it's called upon. Electric Lady also gave Wright his first glimpse into delicate balance needed between an artist and himself in order to achieve the best possible end result. After all, music is an extremely personal thing, so getting to know an artist personally and how to treat him would prove vital in adding to the overall performance on sound recordings that he would do. Now, what are some of those? I had to get some of these on here. In 1982, Wright finally had his fill of the New York scene, as many did at the time, and went to L.A. So, while working on the construction of One-on-One, this is One-on-One Studios and Village Records, the only other engineer left the project, which left Wright as the sole engineer for the facility. This means that he would be the only engineer available to assist on artists, including Sammy Hagar, Kiss, Cheap Trick, which are the Beatles of Japan, Damn Yankees, Michael McDonald, and Heart, as well as fly solo sometimes, which is exactly how he landed his first engineering and production credit. The manager of Canadian glam metal band Brighton Rock heard Wright's demo session with the band and asked him to produce them on their next spot. Now, this is the one I need to talk about. Through the rest of the 80s, Wright continued to do maintenance and assist, working closely with producers like Mike Klink and Ron Nevison. In 1987, Klink chose One-on-One to record Metallica's And Justice for All album, but he and drummer Lars Ulrich did not see eye to eye, and he left the project. Now, leaving Wright at the right place at the right time, he continued to work on the album while Metallica brought in another producer, Flemming Rasmussen, giving Wright engineering credit for the album. Now, I'd love to see what Mike Klink and Lars didn't see eye to eye on. I wonder if it was the bass. The fact that Lars did not want any bass guitar in the album. From there, Wright produced and mixed and or engineered artists including Korn, Slayer, Sevendust, Fishbone, Queensryche, Ozzy Osbourne, Corrosion of Conformity, Three Doors Down, The Wallflowers, Kiss, and yes, Alice in Chains and more Alice in Chains. So, but being so technically minded and so personally aware of the sheer impact sound has, Wright was continually experimenting. In 2007, he created his sound healing technology, Tom Hums. It is a conglomeration of sine waves at different specific frequencies, mixed in a certain way as to promote restoration of the mind and body. It is healing specific that can be altered and blended in different ways to target specific illnesses as well. Quote, everyone I have shared this technology with has given me positive feedback, Wright comments. To date, Tom Hums has become a website which has 3 levels of sleep depth and 10 lullabies for kiddos, 16 titles of sound healing, and 4 titles of high-performance tonalities to help you through the day. Well, I gotta say, there's a lot here to get started with, and I just want to jump right on in. So I want to welcome aboard to the show right now. Toby, are you there right now? Oh, wait, hold on. It's connecting still. I should have brought him in 2 minutes ago, knowing how Zoom has been with us lately. Toby, you there?
I am here. Can you see me?
I cannot see you yet. There you go.
There we go.
How you been?
Hi.
It's wonderful to have you on finally after all these months, and it's great to see I love the background too.
Thank you. This is a new studio I have up in Michigan. So I'm up in the control room. I've been working with a local band over here, so we're just taking a little break so I can join you.
Well, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful backdrop, and I got to say, we were just reading through your bio a little bit. Anthony, my brother, is actually in the other room just having dinner right now. Maybe he'll pop in and say hello. I know you guys already know each other, but yeah. Metallica. Let's just start there. Top 3 favorite bands of mine, probably my favorite band. But it is so cool and interesting that you were there for any portion of the Injustice for All album, and even cooler that you were around to see Mike Klink and Lars Ulrich not really see eye to eye on things. I'm just wondering what went wrong, because this is an album in Metallica fan circles that has become a little bit of a meme because of how thin the production is and how the bass guitar was completely excluded from the entire thing. I'm just wondering what the eye to eye was not, what wasn't happening there.
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. I think it was. I think Mike was a little bit shocked at how Lars wanted to record the drums. I don't think he'd ever recorded drums like that before. And Lars was taught, like the harder you hit the drum, the better it sounds. So you can imagine with the velocity of Metallica's music that, he's got a pretty strong upper body, right? But he's not going to stay in perfect time for, like, say, 9 minutes of, like the Justice song, right?
Yeah.
The song, man, Justice for All, is like 9 minutes long. So, we had to do a bunch of chopping and editing and things like that. So he would play as hard as he could for as long as he could. And then we would, we were on 2-inch analog tape. So we would stop there and, cut it in and do it again and do it again and do it again. And so I don't think that Mike was down with that type of recording process. And so that was the whole crux, I believe.
Oh, he just wanted Lars to be the metronome that he is famously not. That's what he wanted. He's very, very, very famous. He's a great businessman, a great arranger of music, Lars Ulrich. But as far as a technician on the drums, that just he probably peaked with Injustice for All, but that was it. Anyway, I'm not going to have it.
That was okay.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the only thing that I can remember about why they didn't get along, see eye to eye on the recording process.
Okay. All right, because I'll tell you, if you go into any Metallica video on YouTube, you go into the comment sections, you'll see somebody that says, "You know what the problem with this song is? You could hear the bass." And it goes on. Everybody's always referencing the bass gang. So I thought it was going to have something to do with Jason Newsted. All right. So you said something there that also brings me to another question I had for you career-wise before we get into all the sound technology stuff and, well, the sound healing. But you've been in the game since the 80s. Early 80s, and you've witnessed some of the most dramatic transformation of sound technology since, I would say, Thomas Edison recorded Mary Had a Little Lamb on his little tinfoil phonograph. That transition that you were there for, from analog, like you were just saying, cutting tape, reel to reel, into what we now have where everything is digital. It's put producers and small studios out of business. It's made getting signed to a record label almost obsolete these days. What do you think about the way that things have really changed in the last few decades?
I've embraced it all. I've looking this way, I'm looking at a bunch of analog gear here in the studio, and I just kind of incorporate everything that I know to make great music, right? And to get great tonalities and great sounds. And, digital is just a great way to capture everything. So it preserves exactly the sound that you have, where analog tape, it had a way of shaping the sounds a little bit, right? It would warm it up and, do some things to it. And then the more you use that piece of tape, the less, all the high end would fall off, right? So, recording guitars and vocals and things like that, became a little bit cumbersome because you had to overdo the top end. And then when you, went to mix it, on the other hand, then you had to add a bunch of top end so you could get that crispness back. But that also adds noise, right? So, you didn't want those noisy things. So I embrace both the analog and the digital technology now, and, just kicking butt here in the studio. By the way, I just wanted to show you that this is the band that I'm working with. Their name is, there's a ring light there. Their name is Frame 42. They're from here in Michigan, out of Lapeer. And they're doing an amazing job We tracked 14 songs in 5 days,
Wow.
and then we're putting some touches on the overdubs. So they did a lot of rehearsals, and they're really, really doing well. I'm very proud of them.
14 songs in 5 days. That you have to rehearse a lot. I'll tell you,
Yes.
as a drummer, Anthony and I, we've been recording and playing in bands since we were in high school together. And he's actually we're the only. I've never played in a band where it wasn't with Anthony, actually. But as a drummer, I can't stand studio work. I can't stand it. I would rather be on stage. It scares the hell out of me. I can know a song frontward and backward, but it's almost like white coat syndrome for me, where I go into a doctor's office. I know I'm totally fine, but suddenly I'm convinced that I'm sick, just because I'm at the doctor's office. I don't know what it is. No, I give him credit.
I have a fever.
That's it. 14 tracks in 5 days. I want to hear that when it's done. Please link me to it. That would be wonderful.
I certainly will.
So, let me just ask you this one last question on the analog. When was the last time you cut tape?
Oh, God. Well, it's become so expensive, really, that it's been about 10 years or so since one of my clients asked me to record on tape.
Okay.
So it's at least 10 years.
Wow. Well, 10 years is still a lot more recent than most people would say, I would think. But this brings me to the more interesting and modern. Actually, it's not that modern because the technology, the concept goes back a long way. But when did you become introduced to the concept of sound frequency as a healing mechanism?
Ooh. I got into a car accident in 07 or so after coming from a record production meeting. And I had bad nerve damage to the right side of my body. And, I went to all the Western doctors and Eastern doctors even, and, people identified it as nerve damage. And I was kind of numb all over this entire side. And I was very frustrated by it. And all they wanted to do was give me pain pills and things like that. So, I took to the internet, which was, 2007 internet at the time, and, just started Googling what's wrong with me and how do I fix it and so on and so forth, and ran across this thing called sound healing, which I'd never heard of before. And I just started researching it and, went down the rabbit hole. And I had a studio at the time in Woodland Hills. So I was living in California. And I, went into the studio after much research and just kind of combined a whole bunch of the technologies that I was reading about and frequencies that I was, reading about and what, they're supposed to help you do this and do that. And, and just researching those frequencies. And I decided to put together something that I could listen to. And so the first thing I did was gather all the frequencies, put them into a Pro Tools session and make something. And the first thing I made it sounded horrible. I was like, what is that? Ew. Then I had an idea. What if I mix that a certain way? Would it be more pleasurable to listen to, and would it affect me? And it did. And it was a lot more pleasurable. And I came up with a formula for how to make it listenable out of the 24 to 36 different frequencies that I was using, and found something that actually helped me heal the right side of my body and the nerve damage.
And that was just through headphones, or obviously you're in a studio, you'd be able to get surround sound on most things. You'd have really wonderful immersion therapy sessions, I'd have to imagine, with the sound equipment you have. But for the average person, would it be headphones or a stereo?
Yeah, headphones are the best way to do it, because it's so close to your head, and you have perfect stereo with the earphones. So I guess the best way to, I have a company called Tomes. You mentioned that earlier. And so we have this a sleep technology that I put, together. If you go to tomes.com, you can find the 3 levels of sleep that we engage in. And then there's a whole bunch of healing frequencies as well, just conglomerations of sound. They call it tonalities, and there's all kinds of different ones up there. 16 of them, and I have lullabies, and I also have some high performance technology that will help athletes and so on and so forth.
So is the high performance stuff, because this is where I want to get into the weeds a little bit here, is the high performance stuff a little bit more pulse based? Because when I think of I don't know if you know, you probably know this. There's a large and growing number of people on the internet, especially namely on YouTube, who seek out ambient music and soundscapes for concentration, for sleep, for meditation and prayer, for mood regulation. And what they're looking for is usually, I mean, we can get into the frequencies there, but that's a little bit more wave-like, and it's a little bit more organized in a long ambient kind of a song soundtrack. But when I think about someone like Royal Rife, who or any of the other pulsed electromagnetism devices today that actually help athletes with either soft tissue or broken bones or anything, that's usually pulsed and ticking, things that you can't hear. So
Right.
Is that what you're doing when you take the approach for both like athletic application as opposed to people who just want to regulate their mood a little bit?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The approach is more for the high performance stuff is more to kind of speed up your brain and have you make decisions quicker and easier. As you consider all of the facts that you know about a decision that you have to make, then your brain can sort through them easier and quicker. And so athletes like race car drivers, for instance, right? They're putting their life on the line every time they get in that car, right? And it might be really exciting for you to watch a NASCAR race or a Formula One race, but at the same time, those boys are going out there and, they really are living on the edge because, one false move at 200 miles an hour and, you're going to be vaporized pretty much. So, you need very, very quick response when it comes to things like that. And the high performance area of what I do is geared toward, elevating the brain and making it have decisions quicker. Right. And conversely with the sleep, right, that'll slow your brain way down to the, 2 to 3 to 4 hertz range, and where we enter REM, which is where we heal. And so, the average person who gets 8 hours of sleep an evening only stays in REM for about 20 minutes if they're lucky. And so given that, I was a little, when I learned that, I was a little flabbergasted, and I was like, well, what if I can hold you down in REM for, say, 30, 40, 50, 60, 2 hours, 3 hours? Am I going to heal more? So my theory is that, if I can do that, then in that case, you will heal faster and as you sleep.
So, okay, so I got 2 questions on that one. Number one, I totally understand what you mean by athletics now, because I was thinking it was athletic injury, but you're talking about preparing the brain or conditioning the brain for more quick game time decision making and cognitive reaction. That makes total sense. As far as the REM sleep, have you in all the years you've been doing this now, have you been able to mark any kind of progress or success in keeping somebody in a REM cycle for longer than 20 minutes and actually seeing increased healing that almost is miraculous?
Seeing healing that was miraculous, yes. There's a few case studies that I've gone through with some of the people that, came to Tomes. And one was a 23-year-old female from Canada who her mom was friends with a partner, and she came to me. She had anxiety. They didn't know what to do. She had really bad anxiety, and so she played Tomes for her, and she used it every night and every day, actually, both day and night. And her anxiety and depression disappeared. She was able to sleep. She was able to then hold a job, so on and so forth. And then her mom went away for about a month. The person didn't listen to it anymore. And they had the same issues when the mom came home. So she put her right back on it, and boom. And like within, 3 days, she was back to going back through the cycles. So there's something to be said for, the brain learning, those frequencies and how to get around the depressive cycles and the things like that are really, what's the word, debilitating to a lot of people.
I think that is going to be that's going to become a part of it. Another question I have for you in a little while from here was we're talking about frequencies, because when I was saying before, where there's a huge and growing number of people who are looking for these soundscapes on video services and platforms like YouTube, what they're usually looking for is anything that is conducted within, there's a number of frequencies, I'm sure you know them all at this point, but the most popular people are looking for is 417 and 528. And this opens up a big conspiratorial can of worms as far as people who are always trying to hamper and hinder the progress of mankind and keep people a little bit more in a free-floating state, a state of free-floating anxiety, a little bit more malleable, a little bit less in control of themselves, because it's been long since claimed, depending on who you want to go and throw it at, that the 417 hertz used to be the standard in music, and somewhere along the line it was deliberately changed to a little bit more of a discordant 440. And I was wondering what you can tell us about that.
I can tell you a lot, actually.
Please.
Actually, it's not 417, it's 432, which was the original standard, reference standard for A. And so it was, there's a few conflicting sources that say that, the Vatican and the church changed it from 432 to 440. And then there's another channel that says that the Rothschilds and the elite changed it to be, less, it's about the humanitarian part of it, right? So if we are more in sync with everything, then our health is going to be better. And apparently with 440, it's not as, in sync as you would like to be. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but when you have a symbiotic wavelength, then your body just feels better, right? And you're able to heal easier. And it's a lot, when they changed it from 432 to 440, that a lot of musicians and instruments didn't feel right? And so we've gone, I think it was changed in 07 or 1912, somewhere in there. And so it's, it's been over 100 years. So we just accept it, right? But now, like you said, there's people that are going back, on YouTube and things like that. I actually, with Frame 42, we're recording this record at 444, which is a little bit sharp of 440, right? So, and that's where, the resonance of the instruments and the resonance of your body, and say 528 is the C natural in that scale. So, but at 440, I believe it's like 515 or 514 or something like that, which is not as symbiotic to the body as 528 would be.
As far as 528 goes, I had to write this guy's name down so I didn't forget about it, because I've read his stuff and heard his talking over the years. His name is Dr. Leonard Horowitz. Do you know him?
I don't know him, but I know of his work.
Of him.
Yes.
He wrote this book, as I'm sure you know, but this mainly for the audience's edification, on the 528 frequency. And in this book, he claims, and in many of his speeches too, that 528 is the only number whereby its position on the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the sound spectrum, and that frequency in its perfect form, because it's this meeting point of both sound and light, that it actually has the power to alter or restore a person's DNA. Like that's how impactful he talks about that particular frequency right there.
Right. Well, it's the truth.
So
there's a lot of frequencies out there that have, like, you as a human being have a frequency, an overall frequency, as the earth does, as everything does, and your organs have different frequencies as well. So the theory is that if you can get one of your organs, that say you have a spot on your lungs or something, if you can get your lungs to vibrate at the correct frequency, then that spot will disappear, and you'll then become healthy. Same with liver, same with your pancreas or whatever, right? And the vibration is such that if you can have it from an outside source, that it then will become healthy.
I'd have to imagine that if you go back to what you were saying about the woman and her daughter stuck in that depressive cycle, that a lot of people, we are all just bathed in radio frequency every day, whether it be from cell phones, Wi-Fi. There's probably so many things that we are just bathed in. That must be a major contributor that is underdiagnosed by far when it comes to contributing to depressive cycles and just feeling out of sorts. What do you? How do you? I mean, obviously, there's a great opportunity to try to negate that when you're going to bed, and you can surround yourself with a properly tempered room and some of your binaural kind of soundtracks there. But how do you go out into the world? It must be nearly impossible to go out into the world and really shield yourself from what is just being splayed all around. You just have to deal with it while you're out there, or is there anything that a person can do to almost like, I don't know, neutralize their field when they're outside of their home?
Wow. That's a very deep subject, because yes, they sell all kinds of crazy fabrics, that you can actually make clothes out of that will repel these things. But currently I don't think there are any, manufacturers out there doing that. And, for the reasons of political gain or something like that. I don't know, dude. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I know. What do you know? What I will say is this, Toby, that regardless, we know that the application of these concepts, they got to be pretty powerful because they've been studied very closely by the CIA. I mean, I remember in 2003, we talk about it because I feel like every 8 years it goes viral again. People discover the declassified papers on how the CIA was studying the Gateway experience at the Monroe Institute and all this, and they specifically wanted to take a look at what binaural sound waves were doing to induce deeper levels of healing, of focus, but also lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences too. You and I spoke a little bit. I know that you've had no out-of-body experiences, but do you know anybody that has had these kind of frequencies take them to places they didn't expect, like outside of themselves?
Not that I know of. I've spoken with people who have used my technologies in their, they just tell me about themselves in the healing process. I have not had anybody, come to me with an astral story quite yet. I don't know that, if there is one to be had with what I'm doing.
Right.
So kind of hard to say.
No, that would, again, I wouldn't think that just listening. I mean, there's entire programs that were built up around that. So I'm not saying that that's what your stuff would inadvertently do to somebody, but I know that some people they use sound as a way to, I don't know, enhance their astral travels, and I was just wondering if you knew. But you did bring up something about the band that you're working with and how bands, musicians, they'll make decisions about creating music and certain frequencies. And I was wondering about a band's decision to do that. If they're going to be writing a song that resonates on a healing frequency, like 528 or 432 or anything that you were saying before, is it a matter of chord progression or the difference between minor and major scales? Does every instrument have to be tuned differently, or is that all something that has to be achieved in post-production?
You really don't want to do it in post-production, because that, the artifacts that digital processing leaves behind will be quite apparent to the ear. But I think that it really, you want to, it's a tuning reference, right? So A440 is, all the guitar players and piano players and all the string players out there know what I'm speaking of when you say A440, and that's what your tuner, your reference is. So once you have established your reference, then you have to tune all your instruments to that reference, right? And then everything will sound beautiful. So we picked 444. Actually, the bass player asked me a question one day. He said, "Hey, can we explore 444? I've been looking into it, and it sounds very interesting." And so I asked him to do a bit more research, make sure that's what they actually wanted to do, because it takes we have to tune all the instruments, whether we use keyboards, guitars. The vocalist has to, kind of think a little sharp. Her muscle memory has to be a little bit sharpened to be perfectly in tune. And every single instrument that we put on there has to be tuned to that reference.
You know what I should have done, Toby? I should have gone and I should have grabbed music, different examples of music that are in 4/4/4 or something that's in a little bit more of a discordant, disharmonious frequency to actually, because this is something you can definitely feel. It's no doubt about it. It's like, it's, you can just have, it's when you hear two singers that are just not quite there, and there's just something a little bit weird about the whole thing. I have heard so many different soundscapes on YouTube. I see pages and pages of 444 over here. I just wonder, when it comes specifically to healing, if it's somebody with insomnia, or if it's somebody that has shingles, or God forbid cancer, how do you go about, or how have people, because I know that the entire frequency, the spectrum has been mapped and diseases have been matched. How do you find, or does one go about finding a frequency that is going to be integral in destroying or correcting one condition or another?
I personally have used Royal Wright as a reference point, if you will. He did a lot of healing and building of machines back in the turn of the 18th and 1900s, and he had machines that subsequently got destroyed and taken away because they were very, very powerful. They cured cancer, all of the shingles, everything that they were, between him and his light therapy and his sound therapy, then he was able to pretty much cure everything, which left Big Pharma in the dust. Big Pharma didn't want to do that, so they kind of canceled him, as it were, unfortunately. Now, years and years later, we're still, going back to that technology, because it works. We're human beings. We vibrate. Everything on the planet vibrates, and it's a matter of vibration. And so, when you get the correct frequencies that you can hear, or that your body can hear, and it's all about, your body hearing and then healing.
So this is really there's no directory or anything like that shows, these are the frequencies that have been matched most effectively with leukemia, or with malaria or something like that. It's just more so you have to.
There are.
Oh, there are.
There are those. Yeah, there are those references in Royal Wright's work and in Solfeggio work, and there's a whole bunch of other guys that was around that same time in the 20s and 30s that were researching this stuff. Their research is still out there. You can go through it and trying to figure it out. It's not just one frequency, though, Frank. It's, one frequency might help you, but, all the sleeping stuff and all that nonsense on YouTube with 432 and 512 and so on and so forth, and they're broadcasting one, maybe two frequencies, that's not going to really help, in my opinion. Because I found that, you need to have something like binaural beats in order to get your brain to sync to that, to come down to like 2 to 3 hertz, because we don't have anything that can replicate 2 to 3 hertz in the world, right? You're a human, you hear from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, right? And if, people don't know what hertz are, they are cycles per second, right? So, 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second. And up to 20,000 hertz is 20,000 cycles per second, right? That's way, way high up there. Only babies can hear that. And anybody who's been around for more than 5 years probably is about 17,000 hertz. And you keep going lower as you get older, just by human nature. So a bunch of the frequencies, when you put them together, then I found that they have a lot more effect in the way that you use them, and by creating these binaural beats with different frequencies that can help your brain sync to different if I wanted you to sync to 3 hertz, for example, I might have 1,000 hertz in one ear, and 1,003 hertz in another ear. And so you're going to hear 1,000 in one ear, 1,003 in the other, and the resulting middle tone is going to be a 3 hertz pulse of that 1,000 hertz.
That has always been one of the more interesting things about binaural beats. As I was listening to, as I was reading about the basics that I know, is how each ear is getting something different. And I never, obviously, I knew that there was a method there that had to have been figured out a long time ago. But how that works in actually stimulating the brain in that way, it's interesting. It really is. And now that you're saying that there should be almost a combination of frequencies instead of just one or the other, that's that's something else.
Yeah, 2. I mean, binaural takes it takes at least 2, right? So to create that third frequency that you would hear.
What about complementary habits? You obviously, if the problem that somebody has is all sleep related, then you want to just be able to have this around you at the time you're going to bed and whatever. But is there anything else that, I mean, trying to lead as healthy a life as possible is always a help. But do the frequencies do all the heavy lifting on their own, or are there daily habits that really should be nutritional habits? Is there any kind of minerals or anything that should be taken a look at in a nutritional sense, or daily activity? Should people have exhausted themselves a little bit more for this to work better, or is it really just the frequencies themselves will do everything you need?
I think the frequencies will do pretty much everything you need. I'm not a doctor. I don't have an MD or anything like that. So, as far as the nutritional value goes, I see a nutritionalist for my nutrition, and other doctors for that kind of work. But I experiment with this stuff on my own, and it seems to work very, very well using, the frequencies that I come up with and the conglomerations of frequencies. And it seems, it's a combination of everything, really. I mean, if you were going to listen to tones, then for sleeping purposes, you'd most likely go into headphones or in a Bluetooth speaker, somewhere next to your bed or whatever, and have it very low. And then, it just, your brain, when you're sleeping, I should say, your brain wants to sync to your environment at all times. So it's going to hear that, 3 or 4 hertz, and it's going to come down to that 3 or 4 hertz. Right now, we're conversing, we're looking at computers, so on and so forth, and our brains are probably running 13 to 15 hertz, right? And so when you sleep, it comes way down, to that 4 to 3 to 2 hertz, depending on your level of sleep.
I know a couple of people with tendencies to have bouts of insomnia. I really hope that things like this would be able to be on their list of things to try. And I got to apologize. I mispronounced tones in the beginning of the show because of its spelling. We hadn't talked about it yet, but I have it over here up on the screen, and it has its own page on TobyWrightMusic.com, which is in the episode description tonight. So I hope people are able to go over there and just read a little bit about what you've created. Are you still creating new tracks, or do you think that after all the years of doing this, there's no really new ways of reinventing the combinations of frequencies that you already made, and it just is what it is? Or is this something that you're always going to be expanding on?
I think this is something I'll always be expanding on, and testing and making and tweaking, right? Because, it's those 36 frequencies, and I can adjust them to get different results. That I know. So it's a matter of just tweaking all of them, and I keep making new ones and improving on them all the time, and just for myself to check out, and then I, pass along to my friends and so on and so forth. And, it seems to be having a really good effect on a lot of people. So I'm very happy and proud of that.
I would love to jump in myself. I don't know where I would get out of it. My biggest fear, though, Toby, I got to tell you, is Dreamland is a very odd, confusing place for me. And I wish I wasn't a dreamer, because they're always so odd. Not necessarily nightmares, but just they're not restful. They're just crazy. Do you know anybody who has actually had bad dreams, or I don't know? Can you overcome that by going beyond the dream state and keep people away from doing it? Because I would love to have some dreamless sleeps some nights.
Wow. Well, I'm not quite sure how to answer that, because I have the same dream every night.
Oh, is it a good one?
And I have. It is actually about this technology, and that's how I created it. Actually, it's an involved story, but I do have the same dream every night, and it's very interesting that I was able to create what I heard in my dream. I have a very good tonal memory, and so that allows me to do what I do, in the studio, guitars and vocals and things like that for all that kind of work. And so when I had this dream, I heard these tonalities in my dream. I didn't know what it was at the time, but once I did all my research and I put the stuff together and I actually mixed it in that certain way, it became clear that that's what it was. And so that's a very interesting, thing for me, because I still have that dream every night.
Wow.
And it progressed into light and so on and so forth, and a few other things that, I'm seeking help with for the technology side at the moment.
Wow. That is interesting. I love stories of ideas and visions that come through dreams and actually become real things, and obviously it's something that is not, you're not done developing by any means whatsoever. I have a couple of questions that have come in from the audience. Two Dogs Mike D just said, I can't help but wonder about the recording of Silent Lucidity, since you said he worked with Queensryche, a technical band with a song about dream control, but he said he didn't get into it until about 2007 though. Any link between the work that you've done with some bands and what you're doing now?
Not really. A bunch of the musicians that I've worked with have tried tomes, especially some of the ear, nose, and throat stuff that I have for singers and stuff, and people have tried it for sleeping and control. I know the Silent Lucidity thing is very interesting, but I wish I had worked with them on that record. I worked with them on the Here and Now Frontier, so they were past that one at that point. But that was a lot of fun too.
Well, you've had just from what was in your bio, and just an incredible run that continues with amazing bands. I've owned albums for almost all of the bands that are in your bio, so I don't think that you necessarily have memories that aren't fond of it all. But what's if you can say that your favorite session, your favorite recording session, your favorite artist to work with for whatever reasons, is there one that stands out above everything else?
No. They're different experiences, Alice in Chains was a whole bunch of different experiences, which taught me invaluable lessons. The same thing with Korn. The same thing with like Chris Whitley, and it's just different clients and different musical environments breed a lot of different, I kind of do a chameleon thing, like when I come into the Metallica camp, or when they came into the Alice camp, or Primus camp or something, just kind of wanted to be a fly on the wall for a little bit and absorb how all these guys interacted together, and then try and blend in as part of the band or part of the music making process, to help get the best out of them that we could for the moment given. And that's kind of how I do my thing,
Consummate professional. Don't need to be part of the drama. That's it.
No.
Well, here's another one. Korn. We have a Korn fan that just wrote in and said, Frank, can you please ask Toby about his experience working with Korn on their biggest album, Follow the Leader, and Limp Bizkit's $3 Bill? Any chance of working with those bands ever again?
That's up to them. But Yeah, I mean, I didn't work on $3 Bill. I wish I had, because it was an awesome record. But I did work with Fred when it came to a song called was it Family Values? I think on the Follow the Leader, where he and Jonathan were into some battle rap at the time, and so that was kind of funny. And I got to meet Fred and work with him on that, which was awesome.
That's tremendous. See, those must be great things to think about, especially all these years later. Now we're in the phase where a lot of these bands are getting together for huge reunion tours and all. I saw Limp Bizkit doing some stuff together again, but. Oh man, there's so much here, and ultimately I'd love to have you back on sometime, Toby, especially when my brother is on, and we can do some more music talk. But this talk about frequency, yes, yeah, it would be. The frequency stuff is otherworldly, and it's as a species, I think that we're really just clawing for things that make sense, and it makes sense to me that we are. Above all things, the human body is a broadcast unit. We receive and we are constantly broadcasting. I think the problem here, and maybe some of your final thoughts can be on this, is that we are always unconsciously doing these things, that we're always unconsciously receiving and unconsciously putting things out there, not understanding what kind of responsibility we have to the process of being this electromagnetic radio antenna, a carbon-based radio antenna here. What would you say about the need for human consciousness to become a little bit more in tune, and how that would really lead us to better results down the road as a species?
I would say please.
Please, let's do that.
Because right now it just seems to be going willy-nilly and just going the opposite direction that I think it needs to go. I'm a big humanitarian, and I love most humans, but it's a matter, I think, we do a lot of things because of peer pressure. We do a lot of things because they're convenient. We have a cell phone because it's convenient, though it's, probably one of the biggest health concerns in my house, because of the EMF and the radio frequencies that it puts out. And, I know a lot about all of that kind of stuff. So I try to, shield myself, if you will. I don't wear a tinfoil hat or any of that kind of silly stuff, but at the same time, you need to shield, learn about it, and definitely shield yourself when you can from, especially when you're sleeping. And it's very important that, your brain doesn't get inundated with all of this stuff, with, all the processed foods and all this stuff that has become, what's the word I want to use? Just easy. You know what I mean? We go to the grocery store and we pick up this and we pick up that and then out the door we go, where we could have grown those things and they could be a lot healthier. Because you don't know where that tomato has been. You don't know where that head of lettuce was grown. You don't know anything about it, really. But if you grow it yourself, obviously you know where it's been and where it's, the next place is going to go. Right? So just my final thoughts, I guess, more humanitarianism, I think, would be a wonderful thing. And, using sound and frequency has been around for, like I said, a couple hundred years now. And I think that we should get back to things like that to, really discover where our roots were. I think that'll help a lot in the end.
And I would say, in a nutshell, don't live life on autopilot anymore.
Amen, brother.
There you go.
That would be it. You got to get out and do some stuff, and it's just too easy for people these days. It's a one-button society, as we know, and people are very, very impatient. And it's, I think that's part of our downfall.
Well, Toby, this has been a real honor to talk with you. It was worth the wait because it's been months and months in the making, and I'm looking forward to the second time you come back, because I know that I'm going to get a ton of email on this, and I hope that people go to your website and take a look at your work and get in on all of the sound frequency work that you are involved in, and I want to hear about that. I want to hear how the audience is responding to that in the coming weeks and months and years. But thank you for the time tonight, my friend. Is there anything else you want to plug before we go?
Just tomes.com and Toby Wright Music. You can reach me at toby@tomes.com, which will be in the comments, right? Or in the description. And you could also reach me at tobywrightmusic.com. Toby at Toby Wright Music.
Yes. Tomes, everybody, is spelled TAUMMHOMS.com. So I know that's that is going to throw everybody for a loop, the spelling. So just remember this: go to tobywrightmusic.com. The link is in the description of the episode, and from there, Tomes is on the nav bar up top. So you can just click right there and get around the whole the need to be a spelling whiz, and that's that.
Right.
All right, Toby, have a wonderful night. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Frank. I really appreciate being here.
Peace. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
All right. So, Toby Wright, a wonderful time I just had. I can't wait to hear what you guys and gals think. We have a little bit of a little something else that we can jump to. Some classic, quite frankly, on the other end of the intermission. We'll be getting to that in a jiff. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Music is frequency programming. Music is frequency. What frequency are you being fed? If I play with those frequencies, right, I can target certain parts of the mind, target the frequency to go to certain parts of the mind, and I can literally, if I want you to astral project, or if I want you to go to sleep, or if I want you to go into a meditative state, I can make my music do that.
The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically, and it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can externally influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna.
The sad reality is that where we now play our music is in A440. Where did that come from? It used to be 417. A440 came in with the Roman Catholic Church. They suppressed the frequencies. They lost somehow the 152 of the best Gregorian chants, including the hymn to St. John the Baptist, which we've now recovered. That particular hymn was what triggered Dr. Palaio's investigation, looking for those frequencies of vibration by which the music was played. It was known as the most uplifting hymn of all the ages, the most spiritually uplifting hymn. Hymn to St. John the Baptist. It was played to 6 tones. These are those 6 tones. These are those 6 frequencies. And so the A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the Creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the Creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart-mind to the divine human community.
Some decades ago, there was a guy who worked out the frequencies of different emotional states. This is long ago. I mean, it's very, very sophisticated now. So every thought, every emotional response is a frequency. It generates a frequency, and it is of itself a frequency. Hate is a frequency, and it's different to love. You know, when you are in a room and there's lots of aggression and conflict and hatred, you feel it. What do people say? Oh God, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in there. That is because the frequencies of hate and conflict have been so generated, they have changed the electromagnetic field of the room.
When you go driving your car and your channel on the radio is tuned to a station and you're grooving to the music, you love that music. As you get farther and farther away from the broadcasting tower, that music gets static. You start to lose the signal from the clear channel, broadcast, and it gets staticky. When it gets staticky, you get a little annoyed. But you want to listen to it. You really have a heart for that music, so you continue to listen to it for another 10, 15 miles, and suddenly it becomes so annoying that you just get disgusted, you go, ah, and you shut it off. And if you continue to listen to it, you'd get sick. That's what we're talking about here. Except you don't even know that you've been listening to the static your whole life. You don't even know what the true resonant frequency is because it has been kept from you.
Now, of course, to really be effective, we need to use the proper words and phrases, scientifically selected. But that gives you the basic idea. We embed messages just below the threshold of perception, so they can go directly into the subconscious.
They can play across a community these frequencies without anyone knowing, and it starts to have an effect, and it starts to build rage, it starts to build anger, and people might not realize why they're feeling it, but they start feeling. And then what they do is they trigger that with an event. Maybe some guy is attacked by the police or something, or somebody's arrested for something they didn't commit, and now there's the trigger. The blue touch paper's been lit of this manufactured frequency-driven rage, and you have mass riots and what have you, and people do things that they wouldn't normally do.
So in other words, the master composer, master conductor of the Universal Orchestra is singing love songs in 5/8, uplifting everything simultaneously. And we're the only species out of tune and accepting static for the clear channel.
Do you know that the American military, they've admitted this. They have technology that fires frequencies at the enemy that basically breaks the enemy's spirit, so they give up and put their weapons down. This is the technology we're dealing with.
Well, frankly.
Quite 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 frankly.
We all support quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Let's go, Brandon. Not quite.
Quite frankly in Roma, Italia.
I really like you. You're very smart.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
If you ever, I love this hymn. It's the harmonies. It's just the sound. And then, of course, you go into the lyrics. And this is my favorite. This is my favorite Russian Orthodox hymn. And it brings me into almost like a spiritual oasis, because it's just something that's it goes above the humanness, the temporary physical humanness that we have to deal with every day, and it brings you somewhere else, and that is just majestic. Just majestic. Same thing I get when I listen to like Hymn of the Cherubim and things like that. But if you've ever experienced those moments of harmony, that's just what it is. It's the locking of you hear it and you know that it just resonates and it's good and it's pure. And it's whether you're listening to a church choir or if you're vocalizing with a baby. You know how happy it makes Aurora when she feels the harmony of our voices now. She's getting to that where she'll like hold a note, and then I'll jump in with her and I'll harmonize, and you just feel all of a sudden it locks, and there is that almost like a buzz that goes into the room. And especially if you're the one that's vocalizing, it enters into your body even more, because it's like a direct line. It's like putting your hand onto the railing of the locomotive there. You can actually just feel the vibration. So it's nuts. I mean, she doesn't know, Aurora doesn't know what that is just yet. She just knows that there's a locking that's happening there. And with that, I can totally conceive of how sound regulates the brain and therefore helps regulate happier biochemistry. And from there, I can see how happy biochemistry can support happier bodily function right down to a cellular level. So I may not have all the technical or the technical answers or whatever, but and perhaps I've even missed a few things along the way, but if you pay attention to the body and the mind enough, you'll see how things like this actually kind of make more natural sense than popping pills all day. So, I don't know. Frequency is just something that's often overlooked because you can't see it. And you don't start realizing how vitally important it actually is to understand until you come across, or you come to grips with the fact that human beings are primarily individual broadcast units, and from there, group collective broadcast units. Receptors, of course. The controllers, the masters of the game right now, they love the fact that we receive and we broadcast. They just don't want us to do it consciously. That's what I was saying with Toby. There's an unconsciousness here. It's probably why the initiated, those who are in the secret societies and the power brokers of the world, they refer to us as the dead, because we are utterly unconscious. And if you think that you're immune to it, you're not. You're not, because even if you can see a scheme or smell a plot a mile away, it doesn't mean that you don't have to live with it, and it doesn't mean that you are completely impervious, because we're all wired in ways that we can't overcome sometimes. But the receptors of energy, if you're in a room with this music, or if you have it in a good pair of headphones and you just let it flow through you, I don't know how you don't feel that humming energy tap you like a tuning fork. I don't know how you don't feel it. There's a buzz. But aside from reception, we are constantly broadcasting too, and our biggest problem as a species is that we're unconsciously broadcasting, which is why we discuss almost every night on this show, we talk about the media. When we discuss the media, we might start off with one of those superficial, oh my God, this is all nonsense kind of stories, but it's just an open door into something else. That's why when we discuss Almost Night, the media is so effective in triggering our focused intent as a group of people into creating realities that do not serve us. So, there we have it. I want to go into some super chats before we go and revisit a classic now. This was written and published by, quite frankly, writer John Carroll, May 22nd, 2020. The headline is The Harmonic Ignition of the Universe, Tesla, Vibration, and the Pyramids. It's a great piece. We'll get to that in a second. First one up is Palador Veiros. Says, hey Frank, just received my card, silver and chocolate, so beautiful, thank you. That's one of our raffle winners from December. I also would like to remind everybody, if you sent a Christmas card to the show, to the P.O. box over the last few weeks, please allow another week or so to go by. A lot came in but Lauren has really started making headway with making out the cards and the return addresses. We started doing a lot of that. We actually have to order more Christmas cards so that we can keep replying to people. I, of course, then have to go and write something on every last one and all of that. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But we haven't forgotten about you, and we're very grateful. Just letting you all know. Napkin, an hour ago, says, "Hi, Frank. I'm sure you've seen how McCarthy has now failed the vote 11 times. Oh, I didn't know an 11th happened. But did you see how Chuck Schumer tried to get Nick's Law Bunnies? Who the hell is Nick's Law Bunnies? Chuck Schumer tried to get Nick's Law Bunnies in to replace him. He's a representative from Jefferson, California. Slaw Bunnies, D's nuts. Haha, got him." I don't know who that is. Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of rumors about, well, they're trying to make deals with the Democrats to get him in. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there's a deal to be made. I'm sure there is. KT Sky D says, "I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way." Oh, go on, you. Made Eddie Valiant blush. All right, over there. Thank you, everybody that's watching on Rockfin. We have a little bit of activity over on the Rumble. Thank you for those Rumble rants in the middle of the show. Citizen Chuck says, "Awesome guest, Frank. Have you considered hosting a music appreciation class? Music appreciation Thursdays, maybe?" Well, I love music-related topics. I love the idea of performance art-related topics. That goes right into my affinity for talking and appreciating culture and our hopes to be part of any kind of a Western culture renaissance. But I even enjoy cultures and learning about people and civilizations outside of the West. So by all means, another reason why I would love to encourage people to go onto the forum, the free forum on quitefrankly.tv, sign up and start making threads there. I would love to see topics like that pop up that can be potentially converted into a nightly discussion topic. And we've got plenty of cool things coming up already, but I love stockpiling things. A lot less stress on me to know that we have a rich bank of things to go to. We always will, I suppose, but all right, on to Pilled. To Foxhole. This is from Switch Rods. It's geoengineering, bioweapons, COVID psyop, and bioattack, all DOD. Partners, cucks, partners with the WEF. Their owners, 5G. I don't know if that was a sentence or... I guess the point is that they're all connected, I guess. Pam Dye. Thank you so much, Pam Dye. Or Pam D. Deity. D-I-E. D-E-I. Chai Possum, thank you for the cookie. Boys Blanc, thank you. Robert Sarn says, "Are you familiar with the Brunson case slated for review in the Supreme Court tomorrow?" Yeah. We went through that. I forgot what night we went through that. We read a little something, and then I think we talked about it with Chris Ann? It may have been Chris Ann or somebody else. I'm not... No, it was BCP. It was Black Conservative Patriot who was on with us. We talked about that in December. So, yeah, I know that's tomorrow, but let's be honest, it's probably not going to go anywhere. But if it's going to go somewhere, it's in the right place. We'll see. I don't know. If it does go somewhere, it'll definitely be overshadowed by all of the wailing over the second anniversary of the worst thing to ever happen to the country. January 6th. I'm sure there's going to be wreaths around every tree tomorrow. Wreaths around every tree. From Apex Water, she deals in PEMF machines as well. and it's not her. It's just a very expensive machine to own. Very expensive machine. If you're getting yourself a brand new machine, for the same price, you can probably buy three small used cars. That's how expensive some of them are. They float around $10,000 to $15,000, and a smaller machine used is usually still hovering around $2,500 to $3,000. Small used machines usually are. So the PEM, and that is, of course, what has now progressed since Royal Rife, the updated one. So I'm a believer in the technology. I want to use it a little bit more, but it's a lot of money. I hope they have layaway somewhere. Hey, Wayne, what's going on? Wayne from South Carolina.
Hello there. I just sent you an email that has a tone generator on the computer.
Okay.
And it has all the charts for the frequencies to the healing. It's alphabetical, so you check it. I put it all in the same email for you because I use it from time to time, and it's great. I haven't used it lately, but it's very good. But if you have any questions on it, just give me a buzz on that.
Well, first of all, Wayne, it's great to hear from you again because, I mean, you usually email the show, no stranger to the email box, but I haven't heard from you in a long time, so it's good to hear your voice. But let me ask you, when you have used these, you've combined these frequencies to soothe you in one way or another, what were you, if you don't mind my asking, what were you using the frequencies to address?
Nothing in particular, just sort of calmness, I guess. I didn't have any disease or anything that I was trying to get, and I'm not sure how you could combine some of these frequencies. You can look at the chart and see, because there's in other words, if you have something for sore throat, let's say. There's a bunch of frequencies there that you can try it out, whichever one works for you at that frequency. And the tone generator I sent in the same email is where you just put the frequency in it, and it sounds it through the computer.
It's funny, Wayne, because I just clicked on the link for the frequency database that you sent me, and the first thing that came up, because I just said, I'm just going to go to letter C. First thing that popped up was chlamydia. They got so the first thing that popped up is chlamydia, and yeah, I see them. I see all these. Okay, I have to look into this.
There are lots of Rife is over on the right-hand side. I use the Rife mostly. The others I didn't. I just discounted.
Chip card.
I use the.
Okay.
And there's some instructions in that too. There's also if you need any more information, I have one more site, but I use these two sites: the generator to get the sound and find the frequency that I wanted. But as I say, I didn't have anything particular that I did use the 528, and I did use the 432. Now what I think Toby was talking about with the frequencies is 432 is A above middle, C on the piano.
Yes.
And the keys are great. The frequency to the keys then increase upward and decrease down from that point. But that is the general frequency.
And for everybody at home should know that Wayne is a pianist and a music. You're a music director in your town for a local theater group.
Well, yeah, I resigned from that. I was there 35 years, and that was enough. I like to do it, but just the rehearsals were a problem.
Okay.
But no, I still play at a Lutheran church. I do the organ there, but other than that, I've just sort of eased up on everything.
Well, I appreciate your call, Wayne, and I'm going to share these links around right now. Hope you have a wonderful New Year.
Okay, dude, and same to you and Lauren and Aurora.
Thank you so much. Wayne was so nice. He even wrote Aurora a small song. He had the composition and the it was a beautiful thing. and I sent it over to my father and my brother, and I think they were going to record it because he sent over the music and everything. But what I'm looking at over here is pretty easy. If you guys want to plug it in at home, it's healingfrequency.com. Healingfrequency.com, and that's where they have all of the frequencies published. Now, as far as how to layer these in and how long and intervals and all that, I had to look into that. I don't know. I see application here for some of these. Here's one for application. What is this for? This is for colitis, concentration disturbances. Day 1, however many applications. Day 2, how many applications to day 5. So there's a lot in there. Healingfrequency.com. I'll keep this for later on and take a look at it when I go home. But definitely go check out what Toby is doing. I'm going to be looking into that a little bit more myself. All right. Let's take some more calls. Dead Man Talking. How you doing?
Doing well. A fascinating guest, and I have used sound frequencies for a nerve pain condition I have. Which is left over from when I was dead. I have a nerve pain condition called thalamic pain syndrome. It's from the right side of my thalamus has scar tissue on it from my brain surgery. And so the further left you go on my body, it feels more like frostbite.
Oh.
And using one Christmas, using Gregorian chants, I was like, wait, this feels better.
So you've seen now. I mean, once you see something like that, once you feel a difference in something like that, have you kept up with that, or do you have you fallen off?
I've fallen off from time to time, and then I get reminded about it. Like I just tuning into your show tonight, I was like, I have to revisit this. I pulled up Toby's website, and I'm going to be on there. Searching around.
So here's another thing. As someone who has already gone through the process of trying this out and seeing that it has helped you in some way where other things have not, unlike if you were to take a Tylenol or something like that every day to treat some kind of an inflammatory situation in your joints or something else that's causing you discomfort, that's something that you build a tolerance to pretty quick, and then all of a sudden you're popping 8 Tylenol. When it comes to the frequency, did you find that over the time that you were using it that you would have to use it longer and longer for it to become effective? Like, did you start becoming more resilient to the frequency being applied to your injury, or was it always just as effective as any other time you did it?
It always seems to be as effective, like you said, when singing with Aurora, like you falling into that resonance, those frequencies. It's kind of instantaneous. You just feel it.
Well, a Dead Man Talking. It's been a long time since you called in. I'm glad you're still alive and you're still talking. When you call
hanging in there,
I know, because I remember that call. You told us how catastrophic all the stuff you've been through is, and you're building yourself back up. I would love to hear from you again sometime soon if you do jump back into, especially the work that Toby has prepared on his website. But anything in this field, let us know how your progress is now that you're starting from the square one again.
Will do, and thanks for keeping on with your show. There's nights where I just feel like you remind me of one of my cousins. So when I'm watching you, my girlfriend laughs at me. She's like, "You're gonna fall asleep," and I'm like, "Yeah, because it feels like family."
Oh man, I'm happy. I have no problem with putting people to sleep every night. No problem whatsoever.
And yeah, she just said that tonight, "You're going to be out in a few minutes." And I'm like, "No, this guest is fascinating. You should be watching it." But I appreciate your show, and I will be on your guest's website, and I will be revisiting his all the Gregorian chants, that Russian chant you just had up.
Yes, absolutely. And
because there's nothing else they can do for me medically. Medical science has no answer for thalamic pain syndrome other than knocking me unconscious.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Can't do anything when you're asleep.
No, you can't. There's nothing there, man. But please have yourself a relaxing night, and send my best to the girlfriend as well.
I will do.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Take care. Be well.
Be well.
Yeah, the Russian Orthodox hymn, that is Alleluia, Behold the Bridegroom. Behold the Bridegroom. The bridegroom, of course, being Jesus Christ. I think it's just gorgeous. I think that progression is just so gorgeous. I don't even need to know what it's about. Knowing what it's about always makes it better, like I said before, but it's something else. Let's take one more call. 816, you're on the air. Who's this? 816? Hello?
It's Frank.
Yeah, who's
Hi.
this?
How are you? It's Rhonda.
Who?
Rhonda.
Rhonda, are you on a speakerphone?
How's that?
Oh, a lot better. Everybody, please, no speakerphone. Go right ahead, Rhonda. It's great to hear you.
Thank you. Good, inexpensive frequency generators. If you go to spooky2.com, you can get some for $100 a piece. You can get other ones that you can do your own blood scans on, but they kind of combine Wright technology with Tesla technology. You can do it. You can treat yourself remotely by putting your fingernail in a little remote cup. And the good thing about these is that the software is all free. All you got to do is buy the hardware and the software to run the thing. There's over 50,000 frequencies in there. Every time they come up with new frequencies, you can go to the website and download the new software program. It's all free. The software is all free.
Well, Rhonda,
I know a lot of people pay. Mm-hmm.
I got to say, obviously, if I don't have to pay $17,000 for a brand new machine, I would love to not do that. But on the other hand, when you're talking about prices like $100, I start thinking myself. I start thinking of cheap tattoos. I also start thinking, the first thing I thought about was the time machine that they bought on Napoleon Dynamite, where it was an obvious scam, and they just like shocked their balls. Do you know anybody that's actually had any success with these? I don't know, these very greatly discounted ones.
Yes, I've been using them for like 5 years now, and I could tell you some stories. You don't have enough time.
Wow.
The reason I really like these is because they're inexpensive. They're not trying to make a lot of money. They're trying to get the technology out there. And I know sometimes you can pay, like you said, $10,000, $15,000 for this one generator, and then you have to go find the frequencies, and buy frequencies. They give you frequencies. A friend of mine, a guy we was in the Guard with, he had multiple myeloma. They told him he had 6 months to live last February. We've been running programs on him. Just here this last month, he went to the doctor, and his doctor said that his legs never looked so good. That's just one story.
Well, that's
with the $100 generators.
That's for the $100. So pretty much they've just been reduced in some respects to applications on cell phones.
Yeah, you can get a more expensive one that you can do your own blood scans on. It's got little plates, and you can just kind of put your blood in there. I try to do a blood scan on myself once a week or every 10 days or so.
Jeez, I didn't know.
Your body's always changing.
I had no clue.
But,
and one that can give you like a full panel of like the mineral and vitamin content and your hemoglobin and all that stuff just at home.
Yep, you can give yourself vitamins, oxygen. I even tested the oxygen on myself one time. I got one of those little things you put on your finger to measure your oxygen and.
Oh well, yeah, you can get that
level
anywhere. Yeah.
And so I just wanted to see, if it worked. So I just put oxygen on the loaded it on the machine, and my oxygen went from like 97 to 100. And but what I really like about these generators, because I like to be on the move a lot, and some of them you got to be attached to, and they come with little remote cups you can get to hook to the generator. That's the Tesla technology, the scalar technology. and you just put your fingernail in there because it's got your DNA in there, in your fingernail, and no matter where you're at in the world, it'll hit you instantaneously.
Where are you at in the world? So it doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the planet. It's going to
Right.
It's going to work on you.
That's right.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, Rhonda, that's really interesting stuff to think about. I can't wait to hear some of the responses to that. And email the show if you have anything else that you want to share, links, and thanks for the call tonight.
Thank you, Frank.
All right, there you go. Call from Rhonda. I want to do a really quick run through here, since we brought up Tesla. Now, it's a short thing. It's it'll take up the perfect amount of time, and I think it's a great thing to just throw into the mix for the rest of the evening. But that's I don't know. I'm going to take one more call. Just something tells me to just do it. 609, go ahead. Hey, 609, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. What's up?
Who's this?
This is Adrian from Rise of Tire.
Hey, what's going on, Adrian? What's your thoughts tonight? You got anything cool for me?
Yeah, man. The last caller reminded me of this incredible device that a friend of mine has. So I met her through the festival scene. She's like a certified sound healer. And she was given this device. There's only like 50 of them in the world that were made. And sorry about that. They were made by Bob Moog. You know who Bob Moog is?
No.
He makes the Moog keyboards. Moog. They're like analog famous synthesizers. So he's a world famous synthesizer maker, and his partner got the blueprints for this thing, and he downloaded them like in a vision. And apparently they came from like extra dimensional forces, and like he built this, and it's like a sound healer, and it's this thing is like a pyramid, and the top of it is like a crystal, and this whole thing is like this quantum Tesla device. And you sit in the room with it, and it heals you. It's incredible. I sat in with it, and it like
makes
you feel incredible.
Is the pyramid is the shape of the pyramid necessary for any other reason other than its recognizable presence? And because there is a very in this this piece I'm going to read real quickly through, talks about how the pyramids, of course, every chamber of the pyramid is tuned to one of these. These healing frequencies.
It definitely has something to do with it, because it has to do with how the electrical circuitry sort of funnels up through the device. It's very complicated. I mean, it deals with like quantum technology. It's crazy, but it funnels it up, and it has this very specific crystal at the top, and that's where the frequencies come out of, and they're healing frequencies. It's like super rare. They're priceless. And there's only 50 in the world made by Bob Moog. Like, definitely look up his work, because he's a guru too. He's crazy.
If you have anything, Adrian, that you got in a link or that's easy to read through, send it on over about Bob Moog. And thank you for the call, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
All right, there you go, Adrian from Rise Attire. You can check out Rise Attire stuff on the affiliates page. Actually, let's get into this. I'm not even going to go through a break. The harmonic ignition of the universe, Tesla, vibration, and the pyramids. And there's a quote, a very famous quote from Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla believed our visible and physical world is shaped and directed by forces that are invisible and immaterial. But can we harness these intangible forces to build a new reality? Modern efforts to do so began by simplifying Tesla's three named phenomenon of energy, frequency, and vibration into one: sound. The study of how sound affects matter is called sematics. First, we must understand the physical environment sound operates in. We, as physical beings, are mapped and coded with another invisible yet more abstract phenomena. It is a mathematical code that sound uses to govern our bodies. This code is rooted in the Fibonacci sequence, a succession of numbers in which any particular number is the sum of the two numbers preceding it. You have probably seen this before in your schooling or the Da Vinci Code. The ratio found within the sequence, 1.618, is known as the golden ratio, and it's the ratio that forms the basis of the code used to control matter with sound. The golden ratio can be found in the dimensions of the human body and all the way down to each individual strand of DNA. In a 1988 study, the vibrational frequencies of the 4 DNA-based molecules were measured and translated into sounds. The measured frequencies were then scaled down to lower octaves so that they could be heard by the human ears and charted on a sheet music. Then, when this music was played, the study noted that, quote, these particular DNA ratios originating in light are profoundly arresting to the ear. This first wakes up the nervous system, puts it on high alert. What follows in sound is then allowed to enter our psyches on a deep level. People report feelings of connectedness and familiarity, end quote. The study concluded that the 4 fundamental frequencies in DNA musically translate to the notes F sharp, C sharp, A, and D sharp. It's interesting to note that light was used to make measurements possible. When the DNA was exposed to light, the frequencies resonated and could thus be measured. Based on this experiment, light activates sound, and that sound controls matter through the mathematical code. Light, however, is only one of the keys to the ignition. This vibrational phenomenon extends far beyond DNA and occurs everywhere in nature, even among the non-living or inanimate. The very Earth itself vibrates, as seen in the Schumann resonance. The Earth resonates at 8 hertz as a result of, quote, electrical discharges of lightning within the cavity existing between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere, end quote. One of the more consequential non-living entities affected by vibration is water, since it makes up 70% of the human body. Water resonates at 432 hertz, meaning that people who listen to music tuned to that frequency experience a similar peace of mind as in the study above. The hidden messages in the water, Professor Masaru Emoto, we're talking about Dr. Emoto before, I mentioned it quickly, learned that vibrations which control water can be activated by our words and our thoughts. In these the messages in the water, in these experiments, water molecules were exposed to positive and negative words, negative and positive images and music during the freezing process. The water subjected to positivity formed beautiful, symmetric ice crystals, whereas the negativity produced dull and shapeless ice crystals. So you go on the left, there's love and gratitude. On the right, you have You Make Me Sick. You see it just formless and dingy and yellow. On the left over here, Mozart Symphony. And then, unfortunately, my beloved heavy metal music on the right. Probably listening to Meshuggah right there. Plants were also spoken to positively and negatively, and either flourished or withered over time, depending on which treatment they received. These experiments give a unique scientific insight into the power of the mind over the body and amplified meaning to the term positive vibes. Again, we must ask, can we harness these tangible forces to build a new reality? According to Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, the answer is yes. Dr. Rife discovered what he called the mortal oscillatory resonance to treat cancer in the 1930s. He found that by inducing the resonant frequencies of cancer cells, he could isolate them and make them explode, leaving all other cells unharmed. Cymatics also seem to have been exploited a long time ago in Egypt. Of all the dazzling geometric wonders in the Great Pyramid of Giza, what's unseen is just as profound. According to research by Al Leon, the chambers inside the Great Pyramid resonate at the same 4 frequencies of DNA, F sharp, C sharp, A, and D sharp. The frequencies are subsonic and can't be heard by human ear, just as in the DNA experiments above. Quote, these vibrations are caused by the wind blowing across the ends of the so-called shafts. in the same way as sounds are created when one blows across the top of a bottle, end quote. Interestingly, in a 2018 study found that these chambers can also concentrate electromagnetic energy. To honest researchers, this is in conclusion, it's increasingly clear that the Great Pyramid was not a tomb, as many Egyptologists still profess. What were the chambers really used for? The whole pyramid complex at Giza may well be part of a larger star clock, but what purpose do the resonant frequencies and electromagnetism serve? If energy, frequency, and vibration truly work as a harmonic ignition of the universe, to what end do they do so? Tremendous questions, wonderful pieces of well-sourced information, all there on quitefrankly.tv in the blog section. That was written by John Carroll, published on May 22nd of 2020. And I think that so many things that we talked about tonight were in that piece, which is a great way to end the show. Culmination of the many things that were talked about tonight, with the centerpiece of it all, a wonderful interview with Toby Wright. So, what do you think? I would love to get your thoughts, experiences, all that stuff in the inboxes, either on Quite Frankly podcast at gmail.com or Quite Frankly podcast at protonmail.com. Love to hear it. Tomorrow night is Friday. I don't have anything special planned right now, so perhaps we do a segment of just added thoughts from all the shows that we had this week, including tonight. So go out there and enjoy the rest of your evening. I will talk to you soon. Oh, let me go through all the super chats, make sure I don't forget anything. N.S. Chose says, God's frequency dream. I entered a dark space, no floor or ceiling, with stacks of hovering rectangles glowing magenta. And there was an audible tuning fork frequency. God was present and repeated the simple message, you are surrounded by perfection. Wow. I would love some dreams like that. That'd be great. You know what I would actually love? I would love a solid week of not being woken up completely startled by something that the fucking cat is doing. That would be great. You know, a mirror falling on my feet, the cat throwing up, running like thunder from one room to the next, tipping something else over, jumping up onto the window, falling down. I would just 1 week of that, and then we can tackle the dreams. Lila, in my home. All right, and where do we have? Anything else over here? No, I think we're all caught up. Oh, on Foxhole. Switchrod says, sorry, WEF, DOD, DARPA, ARPA, BTO, PSYOP and attack, speaker circus, a distraction, a diversion. Well, I mean, it's just happening. But it's all a joke, one way or another. 123 SKG says, you would enjoy the Rachmaninoff Vespers. All a cappella singing and chanting. Send me some links. And then finally, Switchrod says, no fear. And then a couple of Bible verses, chapters and verses. Thank you for everything, guys and gals. It's been wonderful hanging out with you tonight. I'm releasing the scratching over there on Foxhole. And tomorrow will be another evening that we can just relax with each other and put another bow on the first. Is this the first week? Yeah, the first week of the new year. That's it. Tying it off tomorrow night. I hope that you're here with me, 7 o'clock, and that you're ready for a good time, no matter where the hell we go with it all. Talk to you soon, and thanks again, Toby Wright, and all the callers. Be back tomorrow.
I'll catch you on the flip side.